it? Okay, good. Yay. All right, so you can see the slides good, hopefully. So hi, yeah, this is me. I'm Kate Baker, 9th grade English teacher, PBS digital innovator, and Modo certified trainer, and of course the Flip Learning board member. And you can find me at all these wonderful places, and so please make sure you stay connected beyond the session. So, of course, there's always this first big question of what is Flip Learning, and I'm absolutely certain you're talking about all these things throughout the time, and hopefully you've seen this definition from the Flip Learning Network, where it is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from that group learning space to the individual learning space. It's more than just the video lecture becomes the homework and the homework becomes the classwork. It's about transforming everything into that dynamic, interactive environment. So, we have, of course, the 4 flip pillars. If I could see the room, I'd ask for a quick, hands up. Have you all seen this before? Just give me a shout out of yes or a no.
No.
Right now. Have you seen the 4 flip pillars before? Ready?
Well,
Go.
almost all no.
No.
Oh, all right. Good. I'm glad I'm going through this then. So this is a great framework for thinking about your own classroom space, having that flexible environment, a learning culture, intentional content, and of course being a professional educator. And this supports us in how we make the best use of our face-to-face time and those higher order thinking skills with our students. So my classroom, this is what it looks like. You need to make sure, of course, that you have an organized infrastructure. You've got to have a system. If you don't have a system, anything I show you here is going to fall apart if you're trying to implement this stuff long term. So you can go paper-based, but we all know as being ELA teachers that paper, I think, is our worst enemy, that we can get buried underneath those piles of essays. So I highly recommend having a digital system. And it can be whatever you need it to be. You can use an LMS, Drive, website, etc. So my classroom environment, I have those awful desks, and I try to make the best of it, even though my students, they're cumbersome. I try to have the desks move so that it fits the learning environment, that we're not always sitting in 5 rows, that whatever the activity is, I can break it up. And plus, I'm always thinking too about how I can repurpose things. So even taking your windows and making them whiteboard space. And if you can see in the picture on the right, I have students snapping with their smartphones images of the notes that they wrote on the window. Talk about engagement right off the bat when I was like, you guys can write on the windows. They're like, what? We can write on the windows? I was like, yeah, go. So think about your own spaces. Repurpose in your room to enhance the learning. This link takes you to Padlet. I wouldn't worry about it for today for the sake of time. All of these resources that I'm sharing with you today, you can access after the event is all over. So of course, with the cognitive overload of all the things you're getting, this would be a good way to go back and reflect and, as you start to organize your own classroom space, go back through these materials. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Give me a yes or a no.
Yes.
Oh, good. So let's talk instructional design. Hopefully you have thought about this too, because it is all about the pedagogy. You can do that synchronous whole class, everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, maybe they're organized in small groups or pairs. You can also do that asynchronous individual mastery, and this is messy looking. If an administrator walks into your room and they see students on different things at different times and you're not at the front of the room, if your administrators are not on board with this style of learning, you may want to have a discussion with them about what you're planning to do, so that when they do come in to take a look at what's going on in your classroom, or even if you invite them in and say, hey, come look and see, they'll understand what the instructional design is. Has everybody heard of Flip 101? Where you deliver the instruction via video? Give me a yes or a no.
Yes.
Oh, good. Have you heard of Explore, Flip, Apply? Give me a yes or a no.
No.
Oh, all right. This is one of my favorite instructional designs. It is where you curate a bunch of resources for the students they explore the resources, and then you look for the holes in their learning. Where are they missing key pieces of information? And that is where you insert the video. That's where the flip happens. And then they pull it all together from the exploration phase and the flip phase, and they apply that to whatever the learning projects and assessments are. And this can take multiple days to complete this learning cycle, whereas Flip 101 could happen within one class period or within a small mini lesson, depending on the length of the video. You have two other flipped instructional designs. One is Mastery Flip, where it's that students attain a predefined level of proficiency in a topic before they move on. You are like an architect, and you have designed the plans, and then the students are moving through objectives with a specific timeline. Have you heard of Mastery Flip? Give me a yes or a no.
No.
Okay, and then this one, Mastery Flip takes a lot of thinking and a lot of processing and design ahead of time. So I would start with the Flip 101 and then move into Explore, Flip, Apply lessons before going to Mastery Flip. Flipping 3.0 is what John Bergman has started to talk about with thinking of flip learning as like your operating system, and that's how your entire classroom space kind of runs. You can go to his site, the Flip Global Network, to check out more with that. Okay, so let's talk about lesson plans. Yay, let's get into it. So I teach 43-minute periods, 5 days a week. We're not on block schedule, so I feel a little twitchy at times, and as soon as we get started, we're finished. So on an asynchronous day, I will start off with a quick overview of objectives, about 3 minutes, a student check-in, where is everybody at, and then the majority of the class time is spent on those student-paced activities, and then the checkout at the last 3 minutes of class to where do they need to go next. And you can do all of the check-ins and checkouts easily with various tools, and you can also do it just with a analog of thumbs up, thumbs down. A synchronous learning day for me is I'll start off with like a little do now activity, a little mini lesson that's about 7 minutes. I'll have the resources posted in Edmodo or Google Classroom. Then after that, we'll review objectives for the rest of the class period, and then they go on to the student-paced activity for the rest. And then we'll do a whole wrap-up with a whole class review of what the activity is. Okay, workflow, got lots of links for you to check out and explore about how you want to make it work for your own class. And again, you want to customize. What works for me may not work for you, but you want to do what works for you and your students to enhance the learning. So, screencast examples. I have lots of screencast stuff for you because, isn't flipping all about the video? No, it's about the pedagogy first. So if you want to explore, I made this whole slide deck lesson here, a Flip 101 screencast, where it's an Explore, Flip, Apply lesson where you can learn how to screencast effectively. So you have some more summer work you can do after the event. Yay! But the big question is, well, how do you know if students watch the video? And this is where blended learning comes in. You have to create tasks so that the students will show what they watched. And this can be a blend of paper and digital. You can have a screencast recorded where you've taken your answer key, and if you use a document camera, or in the case of this, I scanned it as a colored PDF on my school copier, and then talked through this to create the screencast. And then the students would watch and then annotate their paper copy of the text and write their notes. So how do I know that they watched the video? Well, their paper copy will be filled out, will be annotated. That's how I'll know. You want to try to avoid it being like fill in the blank worksheet kind of stuff though, because how do you know that they're really watching in that case when they can just, copy from their friend during study hall or lunch? So you really want to be mindful of what kind of activities you're doing, that it's not just, tasks that can be circumvented through cheating. And then one of my other favorite tools is Edpuzzle for video lessons, because it will insert checkpoints throughout the video where you can check their understanding. I actually flipped my back to school night I create a video with my class expectations. At the very beginning of the school year, I give the students an assignment on paper that they have to go watch this video with their parents. If they're able to get on Edpuzzle and answer the questions online, great. But then I also have the backup of a paper copy of the questions that they can still watch the video, say on YouTube or in guest mode on Edpuzzle, but they have to write their answers on the paper. So I give them about 2 weeks to do this, and then on back to school night when they come in, boom, my parents already know me. And then in the 9 minutes I get to spend with them, which again goes super duper fast, I can actually do a learning activity instead of trying to cram down their throats all the things that happen in class. Plus it's a great icebreaker. When I had parents turning the corner to come say hi, come to my classroom, they recognized my face already. They're like, oh, we know you, you're Mrs. Baker. So it made things, again, much more a community environment, and also allowed the parents to understand what was happening in the classroom. So whenever you're thinking about lesson plans in the video, always think about what you're going to do before, during, and after the flip. And where does that flip belong in the learning cycle? So if you think about, okay, before the lesson, or before the video, during the video, after the video, this is a real easy framework for lesson planning. And I have to thank Crystal Kirch for this one, who's a math teacher, but she came up with this particular plan.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything?
How are we doing in there? We're still good, Jerry?
What slide is this?
What slide are you on?
25.
Good. Anybody have questions?
Okay.
All right, go.